industry-leading genetics, extensive local breeding and testing, top-performing products, developed specifically for your field. Visit pioneer.com/what's next to learn more.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Welcome here to this November 28th edition of RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host, and there are two very special things about today. One, of course, being it is American Thanksgiving, so we wish each and every one of you listening today a happy Thanksgiving. I am a little jealous that you get turkey and stuffing and all the fixings, except for, of course, that abomination known as sweet potato casserole. I don't know actually what it's called. It's sweet potatoes with marshmallows on top. Can someone explain to me why that's a thing and if it's delicious? Because to me, I like sweet potatoes, I like marshmallows, but I'm not sure why we would ever put the two together. So if you could, on that matter, and well, of course, anything else that you hear on this show, you can, of course, always reach out. My email is lsmith@realagriculture.com. You can, of course, find us across social media. We are at Real Agriculture on just about every platform. You can, of course, find us on Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, we're there. Go check it out. And of course, as always, you can go to realagriculture.com. You can find us that way as well. So, yes, please inform me of this delightful Thanksgiving dish. But also, if you've got any feedback or if you would like to be featured on the Farmer Rapid Fire, we would love for you to nominate yourself or a neighbor and we can reach out. Because yes, it is Thursday and Thursdays are for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And that is, of course, what you're going to hear today. So on today's program, we've got Rob Somerville. He's going to be up first out of Alberta. Then we'll hear from Aubrey Yule out of Klillarney, Manitoba. Then we will head to Ontario, and we've got two farmers out of Ontario. We've got Emery Huszka out of Lambton County, so that's way down in the southeast. And we've got Warren Schneckenburger, who's going to join us, and he is not far from where I am here in Eastern Ontario. So we'll hear from Warren as well. And then to wrap up the show, as always, we've got a rep from Pioneer Seeds Canada who's going to hop on. So we'll hear from Nicci Rasmussen. So she's based out of Taber, Alberta. And I'm going to ask Nicci all about planning for 2025, but more specifically, she really wants to talk about how important it is to challenge yourself that bit to open up your horizons when it comes to just how many hybrids or varieties by crop type you grow on your farm. So as you cover more and more acres, as there's more to consider as far as disease profiles, weed profiles, all those sorts of things by field, it's, of course, incredibly important to match the hybrid or the variety for those specific fields. So as Nicci puts it, the right variety or hybrid for the right field for the right reasons. And that's a big one, as well as we, of course, navigate some of the disease pressures or what's the best fit for some of the herbicide tolerant systems that we have within, let's say, canola, soybeans, corn. Are we using them to the best of our abilities as far as each individual field? And no, you don't need to grow 20 different hybrids or varieties per crop type, but it's probably prudent, probably smart, probably a good time management issue for that harvest season to have at least a few, let's say 3 or 4 in the toolbox and match those up by field. So that is what Nicci Rasmussen wants to tackle in the end segment of today's show. So let's get to it. As promised, we're going to start in the west. We'll work our way east, and then we'll head back to Alberta to round out the show with Nicci Rasmussen. So here we are. We're going to head now to the special areas of Alberta and speak with Rob Somerville. Joining me now is Rob Somerville from Special Areas, of course, in Alberta. Rob, how are you?
I'm good.
Oh,
it looks like it's going to be a looks like it's going to be a nice day.
Well, that's good. There was a bit of hesitation there, though. Have you moisture? Have you snow?
We got snow, yeah.
Okay.
It looks like winter. You look out the window and it's white.
That's good news. You're in an area that needs that snow.
The snow was needed, yes. Officially the rain gauges say that it was 0.4 of actual moisture, but hey, it was fluffy. It looks deep. Makes everybody feel better, I think.
Mm-hmm. And now, so remind everyone who's listening, what keeps you busy there in the special areas? What have you got for the farm?
What we're doing today, we're processing calves.
Oh, that's a busy day.
Yes, it will be. But we'll get there. Got to do it. Got to do it.
Exactly. Now, has that changed a lot for you on your farm as far as what that day looks like, as far as what you include in that processing? Have you added a lot of things, or is it pretty much the same every year?
We've had this protocol in place for 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And it still works, so I guess we'll keep with it. Change is good, but sometimes you just stay with what works.
Yep, absolutely. Now, so if it's been about 5 years, was there a major change when you sort of switched over to how you're doing it now? What changed then?
Oh, now I have to think. We probably had a fall with where the calves, probably more sick calves.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes, that'll drive change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the vet, if you go by the vet's recommendations, they say, well, try this. So we try what they say and often stay with it.
Yeah, when it works, it works. That's good.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how did the calves do with the weather that you had this year? How does the calf crop look?
Oh, I think they're okay. They had so these are all our home raised calves, and we had a little shot of pneumonia in there on one herd, just because of dust. So that's pneumonia. Some years we will see it, some years we won't. But dust is hard on calves. Mm-hmm. And actually, we kind of held off weaning until we did have some snow, because I think things, some of the calf illnesses go away if there's a little bit of snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think sometimes people don't realize how stressful weaning can be on calves as well, and how that can open them up for sickness. And that it really does, like, it's a big decision of, do you hold off a week, 2 weeks? Do you change something before?
Yes, it's the decision when we wean. I kind of think that sometimes the calves come in off the pasture with some sickness. Mm-hmm. And I know the feedlot gets blamed, but the calves come in with some sniffly noses, and they're harboring some respiratory. It's usually respiratory stuff. Mm-hmm. So they're harboring some kind of respiratory illness, and then the feedlot side gets to deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get sometimes the calf. Sometimes we don't get a sick calf. We won't treat a calf. Other years, it's just everybody's.
Yeah.
It's you look at this calf, you look at that calf, we all got a snotty nose. So it's variable, but you just deal with it.
Yep, for sure. Now, Rob, if anyone follows you on social media, I have to ask about this. They may know that you made a very special purchase of a truck. And I, for one, really appreciate all the insight that you offer on your truck. Tell us about that truck, and why do you think it's important to share what your experience has been with this truck?
Oh, okay. We bought an electric truck, a Ford Lightning, on April 1st, which maybe has some significance. So we've had it for a while now. We're up to 45,000 kilometers. I love the truck. It's just super. Every time I drive it, I think how nice it is. And why actually I thought it was important, and I think it was important to talk about the truck on social media, is because there's a huge amount of misinformation about electric trucks, and you don't know what to believe. In fact, when I bought the truck, it was like the next day I thought, oh my God, what did I do? You hear all the stories. It's turned out that the stories aren't true. Believe it or not, some of the stuff on social media is not true. And, we got a great truck, and I'm thrilled we got it.
Yep. So if anyone wants to follow along, I for one, I think what I really appreciate about it, Rob, is that it is a first-hand account. But I think a lot of the things that, people do wonder about and maybe do use social media as their gauge is, about the longevity of, how far can you travel, and is it hard to find charging, and all those sorts of things. So I, for one, thank you for doing it, because I think it's a really great way to see, an actual use of this vehicle. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I love the first-hand account, so I appreciate it. And anybody who's curious, go check it out. Now, I have my question of the week. And this plays into, we have a poll up on RealAgriculture.com. And the winter, of course, is a lot of things, but it is often, for farmers and ranchers, the learning season. And so my question is, if you were to pursue, learning about something this winter, what would be the top thing you'd want to choose? What would interest you enough to say, yeah, I'm going to attend that?
Oh, well, that's interesting. What we've done made a significant move. This week, we're sending, my son is going to Ranching for Profit in Saskatoon.
Cool. Yeah.
So we send, he does the courses now.
Good for you. Yeah.
So that's and I expect change. That'll drive some change in the way we do things. It's a little bit of I wish I could go personally, but we can't both be away. Yeah. I'd love to go, actually. Yeah. Even if the think, hey, that's wrong. Nah, that ain't right. Yeah. But we did. They came. The Ranching for Profit people came to Delia just a week, 10 days ago, and for a 1-day event. And my son and I both took it in, and yeah, there was definitely some good stuff there. And I was, that drove the decision to spend the money and take the time to do the full course. So my son will come home knowing more than me, and that's the way it should be. That's how it should be.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That's fantastic. That's a great answer. I can't wait to hear how it goes. All right, Rob, thank you so much for joining me here on the Farmer Rapid Fire. I appreciate it. We are going to take a quick break here on Rural Radio Channel 147, and I'll be back with more RealAg Radio and the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this. Joining me now with Genesis Fertilizers, Terry Drabuc. Now, in times of high demand, Western Canadian farmers often face price pressure from U.S. buyers because of that competition. How does Genesis Fertilizers plan to alleviate that competitive pressure and create more secure supply for Western farmers?
Well, we don't plan on lowering the price. So the model is around the investor farmers paying exactly what they would pay today. So we would be competitive in that high sales, low manufacturing costs. We plan on giving the profit back to the farmer as close to the cost of production as we possibly can. So they're entitled to the product and they get the profit from the product. And we call it a closed loop system, which is actually really critical. It's unlike any other model that you can see around the world, because as the owners, they're also the ones who will take the product from the plant.
For anyone who's interested, how Genesis Fertilizers plans to deliver this, where can they go?
The best place is our website, genesisfertilizers.com.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Brand Canola with Optimum Gly, the highest yielding glyphosate-tolerant trait on the market. What's next in canola happens here. Visit pioneer.com/Canada for more information. Joining me now from near Klillarney, Manitoba, it's Aubrey Yule. How are you, Aubrey?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. What's keeping you busy this week on the farm?
Mostly planning for next year and a little bit of hauling grain.
Cool.
Clearing snow, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite wintry where you are for once.
Yes, yeah. And I had family from Winnipeg. They said no snow there, but further west in Klillarney where we are, we had enough that we had to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very bizarre when Winnipeg isn't where the snow is. That's a bit strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how did the year turn out for you then?
Pretty good. The cereals were really good, like yielded well, and everything came off nicely. Canola was a little more average, and the beans were good for around here. So yeah, overall we're very happy.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've heard a couple people, and anecdotal, I'm not saying it's a lot of people, but that given the less than stellar year that canola had, given where prices are, given all the pest problems, that the shine has kind of come off canola a little bit. When you look at your 2025 plans, would you say that maybe holds true for your farm too, or you've got your rotation and you're sticking with it?
Yes, for sure. We've dropped canola acres 10% roughly, just because of that reason. The last 5 years or so, the canola yields haven't been as profitable as prior. So we're trying to change things up a little bit, do more soybeans. We're going to try some peas this year. Just change it up a little bit.
Yeah. Now, have you grown peas in recent years? Did that used to be in the crop rotation and got kicked out for some reason, or what does it look like for your farm?
Dad tried it once when I was, I think around 10 or so 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. So it didn't go so well. We didn't have the right equipment, and the varieties maybe weren't as good. So I've just heard that the yields are good for peas, and you can get a decent price. So we're going to try it out, and hopefully it works out for us. It's kind of a trial and error type thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, you're not the only one certainly or only farm certainly to have that kind of experience, right? Is that you try something, it maybe doesn't go great, but varieties maybe improve over time, or maybe, your practices shift a little, that it fits in a little easier than before. What else then is on the list on 2025 when you're trying to make those judgment calls? Is this budgeting? Is this like field mapping? What does it look like to be planning for next year?
Well, I'm getting quotes for a new grain bin.
Nice.
It would be just because we've got some smaller grain bin yards that if I build one nice sized one, then we can reduce having to use all these different yards.
Right.
So kind of a logistical type plan. And I was just doing my crop planning for different types of wheat for next year. So we're just trying to figure out what to grow for next year, that's all, and do some books to catch up that way.
Always a fun time. Now, that actually fits in well, so without you even knowing so, fits in well with my question of the week. So well done. You get a gold star for that one. But my question is, of course, winter is a lot of things. It's snowmobiling season. If you've got the snow, it's maybe some downtime. It is planning time, but it's also learning time, right? We've got conferences, we've got, AGMs, we've got all sorts of events that happen. It is the learning season, really. And so if you had to, sort of rank what you want to learn about this winter, what would be top of the list or the first few things on that list as to learning opportunities for this year?
Well, I'd like to learn a bit more about fixing machinery. My neighbors built a nice shop last year, and I was in it quite a bit, working on our stuff and a bit on theirs, just mostly combines and a little bit on trucks and sprayers and whatever goes through the doors. So that's always fun to learn some more mechanical things. I noticed it helped this year. We had a fairly major breakdown on our one combine, and I was able to fix it myself, and that was a really good feeling.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think, if I may, a bit of a lost art on some of these pieces of equipment in that they're incredibly complicated. And if you don't have to fix them, you're not going to learn how. So you do sort of have to make the effort to learn.
True, yes.
Yeah.
And we're running 10-year-old equipment roughly, so we probably have a bit more breakdowns than some of the guys running 2-3-year-old stuff, so we need to know a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope you're having fewer breakdowns, but I don't know if that's always true.
You talk to those people with new stuff, and they run into problems too. It's just kind of if it has two moving pieces, then one can break.
Yeah, it's true. Cool. Okay, so on the mechanic side, so and to that end, I mean, you mentioned your neighbor's got a shop, which is always nice to have somewhere, relatively warm and well appointed to actually work on these things. Is it very much, learning from your neighbors, or do you guys just bring up YouTube videos and follow along? How do you guys actually learn?
No, the one that's my age, he's a heavy duty mechanic. Nice. So I'm just kind of sponging information off of him mostly, and I'm a plumber, so I try to do any plumbing that they need, for the plumbing and heating for their shop and that kind of thing. So we do some going back and forth that way. So it's a good relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, kids, get into the trades. They're useful on all sorts of levels, right?
Yes. Yeah. I use my plumbing almost every day on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I believe it. And especially if you think about when it comes to, say, the sprayers and, all these sorts of things, like there's, it's never a lost, bit of knowledge to have these things. That is darn sure. Okay. And last question on shipping grain. I mean, typically that's, a winter activity for a lot of farmers. Has that gone well, for where you are as far as, delivery windows and those sorts of things? Have you noticed any major hiccups on the logistics?
No, we're in pretty good shape. I'm as sold as I want to be on each commodity at this point. And the only issue for moving was the last week when we got a bit of snow. And we just had to, you just put a bit more time into moving the snow around, and then you can get into the yard and do what you need to do. Yep.
Awesome. It's a good feeling. If you're sold to as much as you want to be, that's not a bad place to be for this time of year.
Yeah, as long as the canola price quits dropping, then we should be happy.
Yeah, well, I can't help you there. Sorry about that.
No.
Yeah, there's not much I can do on that one. But we can all hope, I suppose. Good. Yeah. Okay. All right, Aubrey, thanks so much for joining me on the Farmer Rapid Fire. We'll be back with more RealAg Radio right after this.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. improved crop safety, enhanced weed control, and a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
Here's what Wheat Pete's word on RealAgriculture.com is all about in under 30 seconds.
It's wheat time. I love wheat time. I love wheat. Get that sulfur on. Get that seeding rate right. Get that nitrogen on your wheat right. Get that protein. Know your variety. Know when you need to put fungicides on. Pick your product. Pick your rate. Do the right job. Get this wheat crop right. Have a nice day. Grow amazing wheat.
I'm Lyndsey Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lyndsey Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Welcome back to Real Ag Radio. It is, of course, the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We head now to the bustling metropolis of Morrisburg, Ontario. And I have here on the line Warren Schneckenburger, also known as Farmer Schneck. How are you, Warren?
I'm doing well, Lyndsey. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Now, we have informally spoken of this growing season, but now you're on the Farmer Rapid Fire. That means this is the official proclamation of how the year went. Why was it the best? How many trophies do you have?
Well, it wasn't the best.
Oh.
And I believe all kids get participation trophies, so I presume mine is just lost in the mail streak. But no, it was overall a very good year, in spite of how much rain we got.
Right, because we did. Warren and I, as the crow flies, not that far from each other. We do get different weather, but trends tend to be about the same. And yes, we had too much water, and with apologies to those who didn't have enough. How did that then? Which crop suffered the most? You do have edible beans. I'm going to assume it was those, or...
Edible beans were below... Well, I wouldn't call them below average. They would be, I think, average for Eastern Ontario. Like the Zuki beans did, I think, 1,900 pounds, which is not terrible. But coming off of last year's, like, almost ton and a half crop, that is down significantly. But... that's to be expected when you have water sitting between the rows in August. But still, the fact that they did that well is very good. Corn is, I think, tied for third best crop. We've had some pretty exceptional years the last 2 years, so we were down just a touch. The heavy ground here along the river did not like 9 inches of rain in August.
Weird, right?
And kernel weight reflected that, and soybeans were basically on line with the last few years. Just a solid crop, but nothing, no records. Yeah, overall a very good crop.
Now, for those who know you well, Warren, they know that you like to try new things, especially when it comes to technology. And so I love seeing all the stuff that you do on your farm. But this year you also had a significant build that I think we should touch on. For historical purposes, because I got to watch through Snapchat many of the adventures of building this vineyard. But what did you add to the farm as far as storage this year?
Yeah, we made some upgrades at the grain elevator. We had been filling our bins with air with 2 blowers that were a bottleneck in our system. And so we added a bit of storage in the last... Well, we had 1 bin last fall and another bin this summer, but going away from the blowers to fill the bins to an elevator leg and some overhead conveyors. But that, it actually really shocked us at how much of a bottleneck our blowers actually were. We gained almost 50% drying capacity this year. So that lended itself to one of the earliest finishes ever of November 13th.
Okay.
Which is 45 days earlier than last year.
Wow. Okay, so like
but
not
when it doesn't rain for 45 days, you get a lot done.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and the corn, I'm going to assume came off relatively dry as well versus the more average years.
From looking through plot data from Eastern Ontario, our corn typically is a little bit wetter. We put late fungicide, late nitrogen, etc. But yeah, our average moisture I think was 20.5%, maybe 21, and so it is down a bit from last year. Last year I think was 23, 24 average. But we also, I've never seen corn dry in the field down like it did this year.
Yeah,
it was that 10-day period of like 25 to 30 degree Celsius weather in corn harvest that we were shedding a point a day. It was incredible to watch.
Mm-hmm. I think it also caught some people flat-footed on that one, on the silage side. But,
absolutely. Corn seemed to go from 72% moisture to 58 in like an afternoon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was very strange, everybody. Not what we're used to. That's for sure. Now, I did mention, of course, technology, trying new things. My question of the week, which, we do have the poll up on RealAgriculture.com if anybody wants to weigh in. But my question is, what this winter season, what is on your list for learning? What's your top thing you want to explore this year as far as maybe taking in some learning, either an event or a webinar, reading?
That's a great question.
Thanks. I came up with that myself.
It's going to be interesting. I think where profits are going to be made next year, should there be an opportunity for some, is going to be dealing with the Trump administration. You know, we saw was it yesterday or 2 days ago how much a single tweet changed A, our currency, and B, every politician's attitude across the province. I think we're going to be back into another, you look at the market right now. We've been looking at the market, what happened in Ukraine, what happened in Israel. But now it's going to be, what did Trump say? Honestly, I'm going to be focusing more on studying up on marketing. It's our costs overall seem to be down slightly. Fertilizer, nitrogen's down quite a bit. P and K to be determined. But we are going to be into more historically average prices. I think looking at the futures, it's the basis here can make such an impact.
Yeah, huge.
That really studying basis trends and managing interest is going to be critical. So that's what my goal is for this winter.
Warren, you're a very young man. I would like to say that. I can say that because I'm older than you. And have you ever had to navigate a low dollar like this? Were you actively managing the marketing the last time our dollar was this low?
The dollar's not that low. I remember the early 2000s down, and
all right.
I wasn't actively marketing, but I remember, we saw $110, $125 corn. We're nowhere near that right now.
Yeah.
But our dollar is somewhat weaker. So no, I have not had to manage this.
Yeah.
I've had, when I started really focusing on markets, we were in the opposite. We were above parity, when I started farming.
Remember those days? So bizarre.
Well, they were good days, but in retrospect, probably not the greatest long term for ag in Canada.
That's right. Yeah, and that is this is one of those things that, understanding the full impact of currency changes can be a bit of a headache, and so. Yeah, like there might be short-term benefits, and then you think longer-term, it doesn't end up so well. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I like it. So marketing, hedging, managing risk, all those things are on your list for this winter.
They're important, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good list, one. So
Mother Nature kind of drives yield, so we can manage some risk, but marketing is a very critical part of agriculture.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll leave it there. Let me know what you figure out, because if you solve the marketing issue, you should probably start a masterclass.
Well, the master class is very easy. Just text me every day. If I sold grain, wait one more day. It'll probably be limit up. That's right. The master class.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, everybody text Warren. All right. Thanks, Warren, for joining me here on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. All right, we're going to hop now to a quick break, and I'll be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada here on RealAg Radio right after this.
I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture.
There's a reason we call it the Corn School. Videos on everything from planter setup to weed control, field trial results, and the latest yield strategies. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com has the information and advice you need to help you succeed. Brought to you by Pride Seeds and BASF. Corn School episodes are available at cornschool.com, from RealAgriculture.com, or as a podcast in your favorite podcast app. Check out the latest Corn School episode today.
Welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio, channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host, Lyndsey Smith. Joining me now from Lambton County here in Ontario, it's Emery Huszka. How are you, Emery?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How's everything out your way?
You know what? We missed the big freezing rainstorm that they had called for. And I, for one, am glad. I wouldn't mind snow now, but freezing rain is always awful. It's terrible.
Well, the grass is still green here, and I don't think I'll cut it, but we're going to get cold tonight, so this should be the end.
Should be the end. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. How did the season go for you?
So I was very fortunate, along with some of my neighbors, but it's a tale of two weathers. If we went a mile north of us, there were some pretty big rain events that made for a miserable year for those folks. So. Yeah. For us, we had a really good average to a solid year, depending on your field location.
Yeah. Tell me about the clay in your area. Are you one of those lucky farmers? I am the lucky farmer because I'm on the sand edge of Lambton. There are very few of us, yes. Right? But the clay neighbors to the north of us, my one neighbor had 50 some odd bushels on the one field beans, and ended up with 26 on the clay farm, wow. Not that far away. So, and that's all weather. Yeah. It really was awful with the rain events. So, yeah, I hear tales of the Lambton clays, and that is an excellent example of why we hear tales of the Lambton clay.
Well, that gets back to soil management and why it's so important we be diligent as farmers to do the things we can do. And it's nice to see the government, especially in Ontario, supporting that. Yeah. And we can always do more. But I mean, officially recognizing that soil needs to be actually looked after and furthered in its abilities, that's a progress. So.
Yep, absolutely. Now, so on the sandier side, what are some of your biggest challenges then? Is it nutrient management? Is it keeping them in place? What are your biggest soil challenges there?
Well, soil challenges are holding water in dry conditions. So organic matter on sand, balancing micronutrients, your availability of the soil to hold nutrition is a lot more limited than clay soils. And, the extreme weather conditions, that's what we have to be ready for. So our management techniques have improved over the years. Our use of compost and manures are addressing better soil sampling and utilizing that precision spreading and application. This is all an industry improvement and evolution. So, very proud of what our neighbors have been able to achieve with what we have.
Yep, absolutely.
We still have to pay for all this. Yes. And if the crop doesn't materialize, it's the net dollars that pay the rest. So.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That is absolutely true. You can make all the changes for all the right reasons, but you still have to be able to pay your bills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Overall, though, this year is a year for the corn that I have never seen dry down and maturity. Last year, I dried corn on Christmas Day. This year, I was done. Everything closed up, put away on November 15th.
Wow.
And if I really would have pushed, I could have been done November 1st.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So same thing. Corn coming off the field at 15, 16% moisture is unbelievable and mature.
Yeah.
Not just dead from a frost, but I mean mature corn. So
yeah, pretty. I think there are plenty of farmers that will appreciate the break from the drying bill this fall.
Well, that is Mother Nature protesting the carbon tax. Thank you, Mr. Trudeau. So.
That's a wonderful way to look at it. There you go. I like it very much. Now, on the corn note, definitely have heard a lot about the tar spot impact. Are you in an area that saw that move in this season?
It was here a couple years ago. It's devastating. And some of the fields that were sprayed with fungicide versus unsprayed, we're seeing dramatic differences up to 60, 70 bushels. Same hybrids, same soil type. It depends how bad the infestation of the pathogen. If you had it heavy in that field the year before, for instance, you had corn on that field and it was heavily developed, those spores are still in the ground and more quickly attacking the corn. Not only from airborne particulate coming from the States, but you're getting it coming up from the ground. And crop rotation, Albert Tenuta's done a lot of good work, and crop rotation is very important, but fungicide and some of the research being done is looking at multiple applications. We need to look at this from all the angles we can. So perhaps a later timing on the fungicide may provide a more targeted response on the corn. We just want to beat the tar spot back long enough to allow the corn to develop and finish.
Right, and that I think was part of the challenge this year, right, is that maybe we had less favorable environmental conditions, but it maybe moved in earlier, and then because we had that wide open fall, it continued to develop. And so if it hadn't been knocked back, you may have ended up with an issue. So really
Absolutely.
An interesting disease to try and manage, that's for sure.
Every year different, and we'll see what next year brings. But our American cousins have been fighting with this since 2015, I believe. Yeah. So they haven't got an answer yet. So, we're working on it.
Yeah, we'll keep working on it. Now, my question for everyone, Emery, kind of along those lines, is about learning. So what this winter is your top interest on the thing you want to learn more about?
Well, that is an excellent segue into some really good conversation. So we are lucky as heck to have a Southwest Ag Conference in Ridgetown at the college. And for anyone that has attended, you'll know exactly what I mean. But for everyone else, wow, what an opportunity to learn from people that know things, and not only the presenters, but the people attending. So getting out and having those conversations, I think, is number one. And I think we do an incredible job in our region here for accessing those kind of learning opportunities.
Mm-hmm. I have been to SWAC. It is phenomenal. I actually had the chance to speak once, and it is a don't miss, of course, for Peter Repeat Johnson and Bird Tobin from our team. How do you, for anyone who's been, there's a lot going on that agenda. How do you decide which ones you're going to go to? Which speakers are a must see?
Well, thanks to technology, you don't have to miss anything, and I'm very proud of the fact that team has given us those opportunities to see online those sessions, because you couldn't in the olden days go to every session.
Yeah.
And back when I was a kid going to that for the first time, I was one of the few with my own hair color. So, to see how the crowd has evolved as well. Everyone carries a cell phone. Nature of the questions have become much more, well thought out and exploring real answers, not just asking for a quick black and white response from a speaker. So it provokes further thinking and more questions. I know the Grain Farmers of Ontario also is very proud of the work we've done with our March Classic. Another phenomenal learning opportunity, and the initial information is already out there for that. So.
Mm-hmm. Start filling that calendar, folks. It's a good one. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, Emery, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining me here on the show.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back with Nicci Rasmussen right here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
If you're serious about agriculture, RealAg's got you covered.
For over 10 years, we've listened to and shared what producers have to say about everything from policy to agronomy from coast to coast.
Keep up with the latest in Canadian agriculture at RealAgriculture.com through daily newsletters and check out our YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us in the RealAg community as we continue to cover and serve North American agriculture.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Sean Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today. Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host, Lyndsey Smith, and joining me now is Nicci Rasmussen. She's with Pioneer Seeds Canada, based out of Taber, Alberta. How are you, Nicci? Welcome here.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Lyndsey.
All right, so let's talk about, and this dovetails in beautifully with all the farmers we've heard from today, looking at some learning opportunities over the winter, what they want to dig into. Let's talk today about making those hybrid selections, making those variety selections for the right reasons, for the right acres. How do we unpack all this? Walk us through that.
Right. So it's something I've been seeing a lot lately. A lot of farmers buying one hybrid, putting that across all their acres, whether it's canola or wheat. And so many times there's a product that would be much better suited for a certain field than another. You know, if one field, let's say, has a problem with blackleg, maybe the hybrid you bought isn't best suited to combat that disease. If you have an area of high fertility and what you're growing is maybe prone to lodging, maybe it'd be better to put a different hybrid on that field. And I think if we, really assess the needs of our farm and the different fields, we can better match a product to give us the best return. And I think farmers find that maybe can be a little daunting and confusing, but I think there's still a lot of opportunity and yield left on the table by brushing the whole farm with one product.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it does certainly simplify the purchase. But at the same time, you're right. We know, there's variability within a field, but there's certainly variability between fields, even more so and as we get from one end of the farm to the other. So how would you sort of prioritize the selection process? So let's use canola, for example. Do you start with, disease, maybe risk, and work your way through, or what does that decision-making tree sort of look like?
Well, I think I'd look at the field maybe, individually and say, okay, historically on this field, I have a problem X, right? Is this a hybrid that's going to help me manage that problem of X? And X could be a disease. It could be different weeds, right? Is a different herbicide system maybe better suited to this field to manage the weeds problems there? Like I said, it could be, this is traditionally high fertility, high yield. I need something that can stand really well. So I would think, historically farmers take such good cropping records these days, review that like on each field, as much as possible. What is my major, yield limiting factor here? And is there a hybrid I can put there that would be better suited for performing, optimally there? Right? Because if I put the same hybrid over all of my acres, or maybe even two, depending on the size of the farm, there's definitely going to be instances where you're not going to be happy with the performance of that product on that specific field. Mm-hmm.
And how important as well, sort of layering on top of that, is harvest management, especially if we think about canola. If it's all the same hybrid, you're looking at all the same likely maturity, farms may not be able to get that crop in the bin all at the same time. Harvest is not always kind.
It is a big issue, and farms are getting larger, and labor is a hurdle, right? So managing your harvest window is important. So you're absolutely right. If we were to move, a certain percentage of our acres to a earlier hybrid, sometimes yes, we might give up yield because earlier hybrids have, often historically yielded slightly less. But you're going to save a lot of that because you're getting into your later fields at the right time as well. Being able to start harvest when I need to start harvest instead of, having things out there waiting too long. And then that's when we start to see, plants can degrade and yield can be lost for sure. So that's absolutely another great reason and something to factor in on what your harvest window management is.
You mentioned on cereals, especially that lodging risk and that potential for that. How does that factor in as far as matching variety to field? Because we certainly know there is a wide range of standability between all the options out there, and there are so many.
Absolutely, right? Like, canola is kind of what I deal with the most. And, I definitely have hybrids that under high fertility, say here in Southern Alberta, under irrigation. Yeah, I'm not going to put that product because I know that under those situations, it would have a higher risk of lodging. So I would be better, and even though that maybe did really great on a dryland field or somewhere else, well, if you've got a lot of feedlot manure and irrigation, you got high nutrient load, different hybrids are going to be much more prone to go down. So, it's looking at all the factors and picking the best product for that field. And then I think farmers would see a lot more consistent performance, and maximizing the potential, right? We know things aren't getting cheaper in our industry, so we need every field to maximize its potential, the best we can manage within our operation.
Now, the flip side to this was, can you overcomplicate this, though? Can you get too complex?
I mean, yes and no. And I think it's all, different farms are definitely going to have a different ability to manage, different hybrids. And, is it a different one for if you've got 20 different fields of canola? Do you need 20 hybrids? Of course you don't, right? Is the best you can manage 3 different hybrids to meet the solutions best, then do that. But don't use an excuse to not, but yeah, it doesn't need to be, super complicated. I had the honor to interview Dave Hula. Dave's the record holder for grain corn in the U.S. Dave talked about this topic, right? And he's using, I think it was 13 hybrids on his 2,000 acre farm. And do we need to be there? Probably not. But should we stay at 1 hybrid or 2? Absolutely not, right? Find the right balance for your operation, but take the time to consider your needs for those fields and combat the biggest problems you can and that the industry has solutions for.
Mm-hmm. It's a great example to think about, the reason that someone like Dave does that many different hybrids is a great reason why the individual doesn't need to. We can learn things from, those really great trials and really great attempts that others make and take the lessons from those. We don't necessarily have to do it all ourselves.
Yeah, you don't need to grow 13 products on your farm, but you shouldn't be growing 1, 2, maybe 3 even. So, and I think it goes the same for herbicide systems and crops, right? Like, are you spraying all of your wheat with one herbicide, and is that the right decision to make? Or should I be maybe, managing, I rented some new acres, they're dirty, I got to mix that up. So take the time to break things down, do it for the right reason. And I can appreciate people are busy and it could complicate it, but find the right balance on your farm.
Mm-hmm. And hey, we've got a winter ahead. Spend some time scratching it out.
Yes, and there's lots of great technology that exists too, even, for farmers to manage this within their own operations and, put the right spray profiles in and stuff. So use the technology, take the time, make the best decisions for your farm.
Nicci, thanks so much for joining me here on RealAg Radio. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That does it for this very special American Thanksgiving version of the Farmer Rapid Fire. Thank you, of course, to Pioneer Seeds Canada for making this possible. And tomorrow, we've got a very special show coming at you from the Canadian Outstanding Young Farmers Forum. So I lied earlier this week when I said there'd be an issues panel. But if you subscribe to our YouTube channel or head on over to RealAgriculture.com at some point tomorrow, we are planning to break down some of the top issues of the week in a special bonus segment. So check that out. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Cheers, everybody.